Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all the students are okay. Well, if the answer is yes, that is wonderful. I hope all the students have started working on the features. What features? Yes, suprasegmental features. And I'm sure that you must have tried to understand that there is no difference in between suprasegmental or prosodic. Since we are talking about English phonology and we have to understand phonology all the time, sometimes by giving one example, sometimes by giving the other examples, that means that we have to understand through certain dimensions. So today, let's see what we are going to talk about and we are going to understand in session number 22. This is session number 22. So I welcome each and every student to this session, and we shall try to understand that what are the topics or what is the topic of today's session, and we shall try to analyze if something needs to be analyzed. We shall definitely try to analyze that concept or whatever it is, right? I hope that I shall enjoy your cooperation. At the same time, I hope that if there are certain activities which are in this session, I'm sure that you shall be doing not during the class but after the class as well. Well, today we are going to elaborate phonology. By this time I think all of you know a bit of phonology, or maybe some of you know what is phonology, but I think this time we have to elaborate phonology, or what is phonology. So let's elaborate what is phonology. Dear students, before I proceed, I want you to recall first 3-4 sessions. When I said what is phonetics, we try to understand phonetics and of course its branches. At the same time, I still remember I told you that when we are talking about phonetics or we are trying to understand what is phonetics, I requested you never to talk about any particular language. Or what happened, sometimes I refer to English language. Why? Because I always said that your major is English and there is some sort of example must be in front of you. It's very important that we have to draw a line to distinguish what is phonetics and what is phonology. For example, it is written over here that if phonetics is the study of sounds and is concerned with the production, audition and perception of speech sounds, which are called phones, then phonology describes the way sounds function within a given language and operates at the level of sound systems and abstract sound units. That's very important to understand, because when we talk about phonetics, we are not referring to any particular language, but we are primarily concerned with the speech sounds. And when we say the speech sounds, that means we are talking about the production, the audition and perception. That means we are talking about the branches of phonetics. Alright, for example, articulative phonetics, how to produce the sounds, how to use the speech organs, acoustics, how the sound, what kind of sounds are there, and auditory, how do we receive the sound, what kind of sounds we receive. But we are not talking about any particular language. But I deliberately refer to English. Why? Because there must be some sort of example before us. I did not use my own language or your own language, that is Urdu. As I said that your major is English, and I think we must have some sort of foundation to understand the basic concepts of phonetics. So at the same time, we are referring to phonology, which describes the way sounds function, right? The functioning of the sounds, phonemes, the sound system is there. So all these sounds are what? They are the abstract sound units. Alright? At the same time, it is very important to understand that knowing the sounds of a language is only a small part of phonology. This is what I uttered the sentence, I think so, maybe in session number 21 or 20. That if there is a question, and sometimes what happens, there are questions like that that knowing the sounds of language is only, okay, this is what phonology is. No, this is not phonology. That could be one part of, or small part of phonology. So if someone knows the sounds of English, for example, that doesn't mean that he or she knows each and everything about phonology. No, it could be a small part of phonology. All right? So this importance is shown by the fact that you can change one word into another by simply changing one sound. All right? So you can change one sound and you can replace the sound. Are you getting my point? So that doesn't mean that, okay, you know each and everything about phonology. So you have to make a distinction now. What is phonetics and what is phonology? All right? Now I want you to understand what I've said while I was talking to you during the previous slide. Consider the differences between the words time and dime. Okay? I want you to consider the differences between the words time and dime. The words are identical except for the first sound. Both the words are identical with the exception of first sound. In the case of time, you can have t or t's there. In case of dime, you have d or d's there. So t and d can therefore distinguish words and are called contrasting sounds. Both time and dime, there are something common in them, except two sounds. In the word time, it is t or t, whereas in the word dime, it is d, or the sound d, or you can say d. So t and d can therefore distinguish words, right, and are called contrasting sounds. T and d, they can distinguish words. Time and dime. In time, it is t I m, time. In dime, it's d I m, dime and time, or time or dime. So t and d therefore distinguish words, and that's why they are known as contrasting sounds. So there is a contrast in between t and d, or the letter t or the letter d. But I'm not talking about the letters, I'm talking about the sounds. T sound and d sound. So remember, they are distinctive sounds in English, and all distinctive sounds classified as phonemes. So this is what I wanted you to understand. All the distinctive sounds are called or classified as phonemes. Are you getting my point? Phonemes. When we talk about phonetics, they are known as phones, because we are not particularizing any language. We are generally speaking about languages, human languages, speech sounds, human speech sounds. But over here, we have to call them phoneme. Is it clear? Let's give some time to phonological rules. Phonological rules. I'm not talking about all the rules of phonology. No, not at all. Generally, I'm talking about phonological rules, and then I shall try to give 2 or 3 important rules so that you may understand. There are many rules. There are many rules of phonology. Remember, one of the main components of phonology is the study and discovery of phonological rules. Alright? As I said, alright, somebody who knows the sounds of English, that doesn't mean he or she knows phonology. So one of the main components of phonology is the study and discovery of what? Phonological rules. Phonological rules. That's very important to understand. When we talk about phonological rules, that means that there are many rules. There are many rules, right? And that doesn't mean that the student of BS or MA should be knowing each and every rule. No, not at all. But at least some of the rules you must know, right? These are the phonological rules we have. Okay, the basic phonological rules. But what I'm talking about is that one of the main components of phonology. So it is not that, okay, one knows the sounds of English, so that means he knows or she knows the entire phonology. No. But it is one of the areas or the components of phonology to study what and discover what? Phonological rules. Remember, rules are the way phonologists predict how a speech sound will change depending on its position in various speech environments. Now that's very important to understand. What does it give? If you know the rule, if somebody knows the rule, phonologists, alright, if they know the rule, they predict, in fact, in the light of the rules of phonology, that how a speech sound will change depending on its position in various speech environments. So speech environment is very important, and the phonologists, they talk about this, they predict, they know it. Okay? Well, I tell you that we are not talking about all the rules of phonology. No, not the entire phonological rules, but some of the rules. For example, one rule is in front of you. That is assimilation. Assimilation. Assimilation is a common phonological process by which one sound becomes more like a nearby sound. I repeat. Assimilation is a common phonological process by which one sound becomes more like a nearby sound. This can occur either within a word or between words. First of all, you need to understand is that there are certain rules. So this is what you need to understand, first of all, that there are certain rules, phonological rules, right? And assimilation is one of them. What does it mean? It means that it's a common phonological process by which one sound becomes more like a nearby sound. And this can occur either within a word or between words. Now, one example is very important. But before understanding this example, or the concept through this example, it's very important that you must try to listen some of native speakers' English. Now, the statement says, in rapid speech, is what I'm saying, you must try to listen some native speaker, because it's written over here in rapid speech, for example, handbag. Handbag is often pronounced handbag. Handbag is the word, and I'm sure that you must have used this word many a time in your academic life. But if you come across any native speaker in the connected speech or in the rapid speech, what happens? This word is pronounced as handbag. Or maybe if you're coming across the word hot potato. Hot potato. So how it is pronounced in the rapid speech? Hot potato. Hot potato. So it's not hot potato, it's hot potato. What happens? The t is with per. And now try to understand what's written. Assimilation is a common phonological process by which one sound becomes more like a nearby sound. This can occur either within a word or between words. Now watch. Hot potato. You listen what? Hot potato. Hot potato, you are listening. It's not the handbag you are listening. You are listening handbag. Is it clear? Well, the next rule we have to talk about is dissimulation. Dissimulation. What is dissimulation? Remember, sounds become less like neighboring sounds. Sounds become less like neighboring sounds. These rules are, I know that these are quite rare rules, but remember, it is very much there. Dissimulation is very much there. And for all sort of examples, remember, unless until you listen, you watch carefully the native speaker's speech, especially the rapid speech, the natural speech, it becomes very hard. Okay? So far as the second language learners are concerned, when they are speaking, it is not visible. It is only visible. You can detect it when you are listening and when you are talking to a native speaker. So what happens in dissimulation? Sounds become less like neighboring sounds. So these rules are quite rare, this is what I told you. But one example in English is the th sound. Th sound, that's very important. Th. For example, there are two words, fifth and sixth. Fifth and sixth. Okay? So in English, fifth becoming fifth. F and th. This is in your knowledge that both are fricatives. This is what we talked about when we classified all the consonants. So you can recall, you can just refer to that particular session, you can focus on that slide, and you can understand both f and th sounds are fricative sounds. But so far as the t sound is concerned, it's not fricative, it's a stop. Plosive. Okay, did you remember? Alright. Now if you say fifth, what happens? F becomes what? T. Similarly, sixth, instead of sixth, it becomes sixth. And if I say fifth, it becomes fifth. So this is rare example in English, but even then I think so, there is a rule. But these rules, especially this one, it is not understandable easily. Why? Because you have to come across some native speaker, and in the rapid speed or rapid speech, you can understand, you can come across this sort of rule, this sort of changing of words or changing of sounds. Sounds become less like neighboring sounds. Okay? Fifth, fifth. Sixth, sixth. Clear? The other rule is elision. What is elision? Remember, elision is the omission of sounds, syllables, or words in speech. What is elision? Elision is the omission of sounds, syllables, or words in speech. This is done to make the language easier to say and faster. Now again, my recipe or my suggestion for you people is that you have to listen some native speakers. Alright, assimilation, dissimulation, elision. They're very important. They're very important. Definitely, during the session, the coming session, we shall be talking about them in detail. But it's very important to understand now, what is elision? Elision is the omission of sounds, syllables, or words in speech. This is done to make the language easier to say and faster. Language easier to say and faster. For example, I don't know. I don't know. This is what is a phrase, right? Or maybe the sentence is like that. I don't know. Now what happens? It becomes I do know. I do know. Or for example, the word is camera. And you listen, camera. And then, for example, there is a very, catchy type of phrase, fish and chips, fish and chips, cash and carry. All these are examples are of elision. Elision. That means the omission of sound, syllables or words in speech. You might have seen, for example, nowadays on the neon signs, elision is very much presented. Cash and carry, pick and choose. Alright, all these are the examples of elision. Now we have to understand phonemics and phonology. What is phonemics and what is phonology? When I use the word phonemics, remember that means it is a study of phonemes in their various aspects. It's a study of phonemes in their various aspects. That is to say, their establishment, description, occurrence and arrangement. Right? I'm talking about phonemics. And when I say phonemics, that means the study of phonemes in their various aspects. How they are established, how they are described, what is their description, what is their occurrence, and what is their arrangement. It's very important to understand, because phonemics fall under two categories. Phonemes fall under two categories. Phonemics is the entire of the study of phonemes, and after having understood what is phonemics, that means the study of phonemes in their various aspects. We have to study phonemes. This is what the study. So it becomes phonemics. So when it is phonemics, that means it is the study of phonemes in their various aspects. And when I say aspects, that means their establishment, description, occurrence and arrangement, etc. What is one phoneme? One is distinct. It is distinct sound. It has got distinctive feature. Okay, each phoneme has got distinctive feature. One sign is different from the other. Alright, each phoneme has got its own sound. So when I talk about, alright, this is phonemics, that means the study of phonemes in their various aspects, how they are established, how they are described, how they occur, and how they are arranged. That means phonemes fall under two categories. First of all, we must try to understand the phoneme. What is a phoneme? And once we understand, we have got two subcategories of phonemes. One is segmental. It is also called linear phonemes. The one is first category is segmental, which is also known as linear phonemes. The second one is called suprasegmental or non-linear phonemes. If somebody is asking you, what is non-linear phoneme or what are non-linear phonemes? Your answer could be, well, you are referring to suprasegmentals. Okay? So phonemes have got two categories. One is the segmental, the other one is the suprasegmental. And when I say segmental, you can also say linear phonemes. And when I say suprasegmental, that means you can say non-linear phonemes. The first, we have to understand what is phonemics, which is the study of phonemes in their various aspects. That is to say, their establishment, description, occurrence, arrangement, etc. And after having understood phonemes, we have to understand, okay, does it have more categories? Yes, the answer is, it has got two categories. One is segmental, which is also called linear phoneme. The second one is suprasegmental, known as non-linear phonemes. Are you getting my point? So we understand what is phonemics. After having tried to understand phonemics, of course, study of what? Study of phonemes, about its various aspects, right? And then we came to know what are phonemes. Okay? After having understood a phoneme, we try to understand the categories of phonemes, and there are two categories. One is the segmental, the other one is the suprasegmental. Now we are in the position to understand what is phonology. If we start putting this question on ourselves, what is phonology? So the answer could be like this, that the study of the sound system of languages and of the general properties displayed by these systems. The study of the sound system of languages and of the general properties displayed by these systems. It's called phonology. Sound systems. Sound system of languages. This time I'm talking about sound system of English. That means we are talking about phonology of English. If we are talking about sound system of Urdu, that means we are talking about phonology of Urdu. If we are talking about the sound system of French, that means we are talking about phonology of French. So, the study of the sound system of languages and of the general properties displayed by these systems. This is what could be the answer. Then the system of rules underlying the sound patterns in a language. The system of rules underlying the sound patterns in a language. So all the sounds are patterned in human languages. We talk about human language. What is human language? It is based on what? Pattern sounds. And this time we are talking about pattern sounds of English. So this involves knowing what sounds are or are not in the language and the rules that govern pronunciation. Alright? So that means, what is phonology? It involves us. It involves us in what? It involves us knowing about English or the sounds of English. Whether one sound is English sound or it is not an English sound. Because once we understand what are English sounds or what are not English sounds, that means we are talking about the rules of that language at the same time. What rules? Remember the rules which govern pronunciation. And when I talk about phonology of English, that means I'm also talking about the rules which govern the pronunciation of English. Are you getting my point? As for example, we try to understand the concepts which are governing or which govern phonetics. Okay? Articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics, and auditory phonetics. Same is the case with phonology, because we particularize the language. We say, alright, we are talking about one particular language, and this time we are talking about English. When I'm talking about English, that means I'm concerned with sounds of English. Now I can tell you this is English sound or this is not. And when I talk about that, that means I'm also talking about the rules. What rules? Which govern the English pronunciation or the pronunciation of English language. Are you getting my point? Okay. When we are in the position to understand that this is phonology or this is not phonology, or we are in the position to say this is a sound present in English language or this is a sound which is not present in English language, and then at that time we know, okay, these are the rules which govern pronunciation of English language. That means we talk about the phonological knowledge. That means we are talking about phonological knowledge, and this knowledge permits the speaker to, and these are very important things you must understand, okay? Phonological knowledge permits the speaker to what? Number one, produce sounds that form meaningful utterances. Produce sounds that form meaningful utterances. Now, for example, we have got three sounds. N, A, B. N, A, B. We have got three sounds. Now what happens in fact, if we just combine these sounds, we can make two words. And the words are either nab, or by replacing the sound we can make this word as ban. But remember, we cannot say bana or naba, because these are not meaningful sounds, because the word is not meaningful. That's very important to understand, that phonological knowledge permits the speaker to produce sounds that form meaningful utterances. That's the question. Yes, it enables the speaker to form meaningful utterances. Meaning is the most important. And for instance, we are having three sounds: n, a, b. Now, when combined, they can make either the word nab or ban, but not at any cost. We can make the words like bana or naba, because these are not meaningful utterances. All right, that's the first point we must remember, that phonological knowledge permits a speaker to do what? It permits a speaker to produce sounds that form meaningful utterances. And for instance, we have got three sounds: n, a, b. So we can convert them while combining them. Two words. We can convert them into two words. One is the nab, the other one is ban, but not bana or naba. Is it clear? Well, again, this knowledge permits a speaker to make up new words. For example, s, a, n, t. Now watch, we have got four sounds, four phonemes, and the words we can make with them, with the help of them, by rearranging them, are scent, tense, nets, nest. Now we have four sounds, but with the help of four sounds, we can rearrange their position and we can form certain meaningful utterances. And the meaningful utterances are scent, tense, nets, nest. Okay? And then this knowledge permits the speaker to add appropriate phonetic segments to form plurals and past tenses. Now the third thing is, we can do what? We can add appropriate phonetic segments to form plurals and past tenses. For example, plurals: book, books; rose, roses. Past tense: picked, took; picked, took; picked, took. And then this knowledge permits the speaker to know what is or is not a sound in one's language. The speaker knows that if you are the speaker of English language, and if I am just using non-English sounds, at the same time, without a second, you can detect and you can say, no, this is not English sound. For example, if somebody is using ing sound in the start of any word, you can say no, because in English no word starts with or begins with ing. Ing. You are a student of BS English or RAM English. The word English. English. It is possible that some of you start thinking, what do you think about English? Remember, the word English begins with I sound. It does not start with ing sound. It begins with I sound. That's very important to understand. Okay? So, no English word begins with ing sound. That is a nasal sound. Ing. Ing. Alright? These are the things you must remember. Let's talk about speech process. What happens? Now remember, the airstream expelled from the lungs is the most common source of energy for our vocal activity. This time I'm talking to you, I'm engaged in vocal activity. Alright? Well, what is happening in fact? Of course, everything is dependent on airstream. Airstream. It is the airstream, in fact, what happens, that is expelled from the lungs. That's the most important thing to understand. So that is the most common source of energy. That means energy is converted into sounds, sound waves. Okay? So the airstream expelled from the lungs is the most common source of energy for our vocal activity. I am engaged in vocal activity. This is what I have to understand, and you must understand. Then what happens? In the trachea windpipe, it passes through the larynx, containing the vocal folds or vocal cords. Right? Airstream expelled. Clear? Stage 1. Stage 2. In the trachea, or you can call it windpipe, it passes through the larynx. Now larynx is the point where we have got what? Vocal folds. We also call them vocal cords. Alright? So the airstream, that's the source of energy. Alright, we understand. What happens then? So it passes through larynx, through windpipe or trachea. The same airstream passes through the larynx. Now this larynx, or the part of our vocal system, in fact, contains what? Vocal folds or vocal cords. Now, the front portion of the trachea windpipe is prominent in the neck below the chin and is known as Adam's apple. So that's the place, the processor, in fact, right? Adam's apple. You can see it, you can touch it. I still remember when I picked up in the start of the semester, when we were talking about the classification of consonants, I presented before you certain slides or diagrams containing or showing, reflecting Adam's apple. Alright? You can understand through this way what is happening. Let's talk about the bottom. Look at the bottom. Look at the bottom. Look at the bottom. Right? And I'll courtesy from where I have retrieved this particular slide, published in 2017. Right? Courtesy for Scott. Now look at this slide very closely. This is what I was talking about, speech process. Alright? You can see the larynx. Alright? And then the pipe is there, definitely is going downwards to lungs. Now upward, you can see when we are just speaking on the top, oral vocal tract. You can see that. And then at the bottom, laryngeal vocal tract, you have got alveolar ridge and all parts, labiodental, dental, alveolar, platter, velar, uvular. Or these are this is what I'm saying about the classification of certain sounds. And then we have got tongue, the parts of tongue. We've got lips, right? We've got jaws. This is what is the way we produce or we convert the airstream into sounds. Are you getting my point? So this is what I meant. What is speech process? We are speaking. Everyone is listening to me. Now this time people listen to you, but they are not conscious, or we are not conscious. What are the parts, speech organs? They are working all the time to convert airstream, right? Energy into sound waves. Okay? Well, before I talk something else, it's very important to ask you. Okay, one question for everyone. Tell me something. Have you ever talked to yourself when you were in the crowd? Have you ever been engaged in some sort of self-talking in the crowd? All right. Yes or no? Now, I want you, for example, try saying the word helps out loud. I want to say this word loud, paying close attention to the final sound of the word. So tell me, what is the final sound of the word? Of course, this is sound. I want you to speak loudly the word helps. What is the sound? The ending sound. Of course, that is sound. And after that, say the word crabs out loud. First, you have to say the word helps and say crab. I mean, first HLPS and second time CRABS. I want you to say the word HELPS and the second word is CRABS. Now, pay attention to the final sound. Now, Tell me what is the ending sound of the word HELPS. Of course, that is S sound. And now tell me what is the ending sound of CRABS. Yes, crabs. Yes, absolutely right, but sound is Z. Now, it is possible that you are embarrassed when you are talking to yourself, right? And especially in the crowded place, in the classroom if you are, and number of students around you, and you are just saying helps and crabs, right? You are, in fact, I want you to become a little bit conscious about these two ending sounds. Now, may I ask you, what did you notice? Or what is the possibility, what kind of things you hear? If you notice about the final sounds of these words, one is S, the other one is Z. As I told you, we never think about spelling system of English when we talk about phonology, because you have to forget about this, because there is no matching between the sounds and the spellings of English. Okay? For example, there is a word D-O-U-B-T. It is spoken, it is pronounced as doubt. There is B sound. So that's why the spellings sometimes do not match the sound system. As I've given you the example, that if you just speak the word loudly, help, helps, HELPS, the ending sound, just focus on that, is sir. But the same sir is at the end of the word CRABS, crabs. Right? The first one is a verb. It's a verb. But the second one is a noun. The ending is sir, but the sound we come across is sir and z. In case of helps, it is sir. But in case of crabs, it is z. Alright? So that is a marked difference, and this is what we find. This is phonology. This is phonology. This is what I was talking about. If you said that they are different, you are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Yes, you're right. Both the sounds are different. So that's why I'm saying you're absolutely correct. In helps, the final sound is pronounced like you would expect the letter S to sound. However, in crabs, the ending should have sounded like more like a Z or Z. This is what I was establishing. That if, for example, among many students you are saying helps and crabs, how do you know that I am saying? Because when you say helps, there is no vibration at all. But when you say crabs, you can feel vibrations so far as the Adam's apple is concerned. You are not touching your Adam's apple among your friends when you are just trying out this particular exercise. No, not at all. But what tells you, in fact, what enables you to understand? It is primarily the Z, a vibration or voiceless, S and Z. That's why I was saying that you don't have to talk about the spellings. You don't have to talk about the alphabet of English. The same S has been used at the end of HELP and CRAB. But each time it is producing a different sound. So remember, the reasoning for this change can be found through the use of phonology. How can we detect this? How can we find this? This is what phonology tells us. Because when we say that it is the change, so how we have to understand, how do we understand this change? Is it natural? No, it's not natural. Definitely we are talking about phonology of English. So there are certain rules governing English pronunciation. So the reasoning for this change can be found through the use of phonology. I am saying use of phonology. Maybe some of you call it use of phonology, but I cannot call it use of phonology because I know I am using this word as a noun. And when I use this word as a noun, that is use. The reasoning for this change can be found through the use of phonology, which is the study of speech sounds and how they change depending on certain situations or placements in syllables, words and sentences. So this is what we already talked about, talking about phonemics and phonology, talking about segments and suprasegmentals. Always remember that phonological rules are very important. We have to understand phonological rules. We must know them. I'm not saying all of the rules, not at all, but some of the rules which are very important, such as assimilation, dissimilation, elision. I mean, these are very important rules. But they come to you. Your understanding is developed further. How? When you engage yourself listening native speakers. You can download any lecture from YouTube. There are many lectures available of the native speakers. Now you can understand the variation when you are just trying to focus on their speech. A rapid speech, that's very important. You can come across certain assimilations, dissimilations, and of course elisions. For example, if somebody is speaking West German, I'm sure you will come across West German. So T is not pronounced. West German. The speaker is having the consciousness that T is there, but what happens in the connected speech or the rapid speech, all right, there is elision. So that's very important to understand. That how do we understand? I mean, I have given you a very simple example of one particular S or Sir. But at one time it is producing the sound Sir, but at another time it is producing the sound Z, as in the case of helps and traps. So how do we understand this? We understand this through the use of phonology. That's very important to understand, that phonological rules are there to make us understand there are certain variations. Are you getting my point? For example, I said handbag. What happened? Handbag. In the connected speech, if you come across a native speaker, he or she is speaking in rapid speech, when he or she is engaged, what happens? You listen the word handbag instead of handbag. What about hot potato? So you listen hot potato. Are you getting my point? Well, very important segment of our session is always the self-assessment. I'm not saying that others are not, but I am rather more concerned with the understanding or with the things which we talk during one session, we try to analyze. And both, of course, your instructor and you people are the facilitators of learning. And without your cooperation, I don't think so that I can be successful, or any instructor can be successful. Or may I say that you are the people, the students are the people, in fact, who convert the instructor into facilitator of learning. Why I am saying this? The conversion of instructor into facilitator of learning. That's very important to understand, because as a student, you are the most important part of this system, the teaching learning system or teaching learning process. I always believe that learning is very important, and teaching becomes rather more important if learning occurs. If there is no learning, remember there is no teaching. That's a very important point to understand. So that's why I always say that self-assessment component is very significant when I talk about one session or all sessions in the classroom, outside the classroom. Maybe the learning is occurring, or we are just trying to ensure learning, maybe virtually or face to face. That makes no difference, but learning should be there. And without self-assessment, my dear ones, it is not possible that we can gauge learning. So this time you need to write what is phonology, and you have to explain it. There are certain examples I have given to you, I have quoted. There are certain other examples you can write down, and then please never forget to put that answer in your folder. That's the most important business for the students, that folder is all the time there to help you. Because when you put your assignment, your task, after having done the task which I suggest you, so please put it, so your folder becomes a receiver, right? But when you reapproach the folder, maybe during the semester or after the semester, what happens? You become the receiver, you are the recipient. Okay, during the sessions your folder is the recipient, but at the end of the semester, when you will be required to write down certain answers, of course in the end term exam, always remember, or maybe if the task is given to you, maybe assignment is given to you, so you become the recipient, because you are just continuously you are adding number of things to the folder. So this time I want you to explain what is phonology, write down your answer, and if possible you have to give certain examples. All right, so for this session, thank you very much from my side. Goodbye and good luck. Stay blessed.